Okay, so today we're going to be talking about basically your ADHD is what you eat. Okay, I know it's a difficult concept to kind of grasp, but there is so much evidence behind this and so much that I've seen as far as the importance of what you eat can contribute to how significantly worse your ADHD is going to get or how better it will be living with your ADHD. So let's talk about 3 things that I think of why this is so important. We'll talk about that right after this intro. Hey, what's up, my optimal mind? How are you doing? Today I want to talk to you about specifically when it comes to what you eat is really contribute to a lot of what your ADHD does, as far as the concerns that have to do with all the contributing factors that can cause, because of what we eat can contribute to a lot of things that happen with our ADHD symptoms. I grew up with ADHD and also dyslexia. I have those, and I find this all the time and time again. But before I go and dive into deep about that, I want to tell you a little bit about a guide that actually can really help you significantly if you do have ADHD, or if you're a parent that has a kid with ADHD. I have a free downloadable guide in the description below. It talks about all the nutrient supplements and types of vitamins that you should be implementing, as well as what labs you should be running to really help improve your ADHD. So go ahead and download in the description below. But like I was saying before, as far as when it comes to really what I've had to experience, anytime that I have eaten really crappy, my ADHD does really suffer, and I really do struggle. I get a lot more brain fog. I tend to be very inattentive. I tend to even be a little bit, sometimes even hyperactive, depending on what foods I do eat, or I could be even very sluggish and fatigued and very just a sluggish mind. Even my executive functioning abilities really just start to limit my capacity of what I can do on a daily basis. So these things are definitely things that I've seen anytime I tend to really kind of rear off of what I should be eating and what I know I should be eating. And then I find that I'm suffering. I'm not being very successful with my work. I'm not being really well when it comes to just organizing things, planning things. And I just feel off. I feel really off when I do tend to just really get off track of the things I should be eating. There are 3 things I want to talk about. Is what you do eat is your ADHD. Of why I think this is so true. The very first thing is that you need to feed your mind the proper foods. Feed your mind. Your mind really relies on a lot of different things, especially when it comes to ADHD. So let's talk about ADHD and how the brain works a little bit right here. So specifically, when it comes to the ADHD brain, they have found in research and different things as far as, it isn't necessarily the prefrontal cortex. Research kind of changed a little bit about that. It has to do a lot with more of the white matter. It has to do with also neurotransmitters not being efficient enough. And talking about neurotransmitters, so we're talking about like dopamine and norepinephrine. Those are the 2 big ones that usually ADHD medications will concentrate on to be able to help improve upon that. That's why people find that ADHD medications can be beneficial. But if we dive in a little deeper, what are neurotransmitters built off of? Well, it's built off of a lot of different nutrients that our body relies on, not just our brain, but our whole body. And so these are things that could be like B vitamins, vitamin C, different also L-tyrosine, different also things that we do get on through our healthy proteins, healthy fats, and vegetables. These are all different nutrients that we should be getting on a consistent basis, because neurotransmitters rely off of these types of nutrients to be able to consistently be building them and making them consistently. And when we are lacking in that, guess what? We're not going to be building enough neurotransmitters, so we're going to rely more often on medications. And so what we need to focus on is why eating the right types of foods. Because whenever we eat crappy, well, a lot of that dead is what I call is dead food. So a lot of your processed food, a lot of your sugars, a lot of your, your drinks and sodas and things that, are just simple carbs that don't have any dense nutrients in it. Well, it's really hard for your brain to build off of anything from that. Even your body, you're going to feel sluggish. You're going to feel brain fog. You're going to feel all these things, and you're going to feel really crappy. So somebody who has ADHD, they're even going to feel this even more. Way more, because they already suffer in this category. They already suffer with creating enough neurotransmitters. They already suffer with, neurodevelopment as well. So they need these vital nutrients on a daily basis. So you cannot take the expense of not eating good foods. You have to be eating good foods, especially if you have ADHD. This is so important, and I feel this all the time with people I work with who have ADHD, as well as for myself. Anytime that they go off or I go off of not eating well, guess what? Our symptoms come back, and even more significant than we would like to see them. The second big reason of why it's so important to be eating good foods is the gut and brain connection. So I've talked about this in some of my other videos before, about the gut and brain connection when it really has to contribute with ADHD. So when our gut is suffering, if you're having a lot of digestive issues, guess what? You're not breaking down the proper foods, not producing enough digestive enzymes to break down those foods, to be able to use all the B vitamins, use the different proteins, use the different all important macronutrients that we eat on a daily basis. So therefore the brain doesn't get fed. And when the gut is suffering, the brain does suffer. And what leads to a poor digestive system? In most cases, pretty much all cases, there's some rare examples of genetic issues, but it has to do with what you're eating on a daily basis. I see a lot of patients with digestive issues, especially for coming in for a lot of mental health issues like ADHD, depression, and anxiety. And when we focus on the gut, things start to improve. Because if your gut is all blocked up and isn't working properly, guess what? Your brain isn't getting the nutrients that it needs. So if you are having digestive issues, you really need to start focusing on cleaning up your diet, cleaning up your system, and start using things such as like digestive enzymes. Maybe you need to use something like betaine and HCl, some other things that help kind of break down the foods, maybe taking some bitter herbs that help kind of stimulate the digestive enzymes naturally, and also really just cleaning up your diet is going to be the biggest thing to be able to do, and that's why it's so important for people who have ADHD. The third and final thing that why it's so important to be eating a clean diet and eating for things for your ADHD mind is because toxins, which are in a lot of different foods, especially processed foods, depending on where it was processed or where you got the meat, all can be really related to because ADHD people are really sensitive, especially to when it comes to toxins. Now, for everybody, they really should be trying to clean up their system and getting rid of toxins in their body. But for people with ADHD, it really does not do well. Those two things, it really will increase the ADHD symptoms in the body, especially when it comes to different dyes, and food colorings and stuff like that can really exacerbate the ADHD symptoms. But I'm talking about just, crappy food, junk food, fast food, processed food, anything that's packaged. A lot of these times we'll have added stuff that the body does not recognize. And a lot of it has toxins and it kind of builds up and it just really creates this brain fog, sluggishness, feeling tired or feeling too hyperactive, depending on what your diet is. This can really contribute to this. And by doing a cleanse or detox, be able to clean the system out, really will help improve the mind, really will help your ADHD, but also more importantly, really longevity in life to be able to actually have optimal levels of health. And so by really doing these three things, by eating well as trying to fix your gut and trying to cleanse the body through a lot of the toxins can really help improve your ADHD. And so I hope you found this really beneficial. If you're trying to look for what types of foods to eat and what types of nutrients and what labs you should be running for ADHD, you can download my free guide in the description below. It's right there, one for adults. And if you're a parent, you have kids, there's also a guide for you as well. So until next time, this is Dr. Legrand signing out. And remember, you have an optimal mind. Thanks. Bye.